Hello,
Hey,
Zoe.
Mike.
How are you?
Good, I'm great.
You got a lot of panic in the city going on right now, Todd. No, it's a laughable matter, but it's not a laughable matter. What in the hell is going on with this team right now?
Yeah, it's funny. About a week ago, everybody, when we were talking about the Phillies being really hot and they had the best record in baseball, a lot of people, the comments I would get on Twitter and email and whatnot was like, yeah, but who have they played recently?
Mm-hmm.
They played a bunch of stiffs. And I'd say, well, you can only play you can only beat who you're playing. But now, after this past week, those guys have a little bit of validity behind those statements, or can kind of feel better about those comments. Like, yeah, well, they only beat the really awful teams in Major League Baseball, the Pirates, Rockies, and A's, and yeah, the offense is falling asleep. That first game in Toronto, they scored 6 runs in the first inning. You're like, okay, here they go. They're gonna get back on, and they scored 4 runs in the final 26 innings of that series. And Jesus Luzardo has the worst start of his career last Saturday against the Brewers, and I'm sitting there feeling very confident that he was going to pitch better than that. And then then yesterday was not as bad, but almost as bad. And then you start getting into historical stuff about the last Phillies pitcher to have back-to-back starts like that was almost 100 years ago, and so a lot of their flaws have certainly popped up over this past week.
Yeah, let's talk about Luzardo, because this is historic, really, the 2 starts that he's had. I mean, he's given up 20 runs in 5 2/3. His ERA has ballooned. His stuff seems to be pretty good. His velocity was still... What do you think is the problem here? He's gone past the innings that he's pitched last year. Could that be it? And if that was it, I would think his velocity would be down.
Yeah. I mean, it could be it. It could be like maybe just his mechanics are just a little bit out of whack. But the one thing that I saw yesterday against the Blue Jays, and I guess happened a little bit against the Brewers, is that they were jumping first pitches from him almost kind of like they knew what was coming. And so then you automatically go, yeah, maybe he's tipping his pitches, but that's also something that gets thrown around a lot anytime somebody gets hard. I remember asking Jordan Romano earlier this season, that game where he gave up like 6 runs, and he's like, yeah, maybe I'm tipping my pitches. I don't know. I'm going to look into it. And it turns out he really wasn't. Same thing with Luzardo. So maybe he's tipping his pitches, or the fact that they are just squaring up the ball on the first pitch early in the count. Maybe he's becoming too predictable. And maybe it's just poor execution, but you're right. He doesn't seem to be, you don't see that drop in velocity. You're going, uh-oh, this is not good. So you tend to think that he'll be able to figure it out sooner rather than later. And certainly for the Phillies' sake, he needs to figure it out sooner rather than later. Yeah, because this whole team is really built on the starting pitching. They've got their flaws offensively. They've got a bullpen that needs help. But you look at this, the defense is hot and cold. But really, when you look at this team and like what's going to get them in the postseason, it's like, well, they're going to get to the postseason because they have perhaps the best rotation of baseball. But if Luzardo is going to struggle like this, that kind of
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Now, where could that lead if Luzardo continues to stack up these bad starts? There might come a time where they have to go away from him. And what their bullpen, they need a left-hander in the bullpen, and everybody's thinking, well, if playoff time, Ranger Suarez can handle that role. But where could this possibly lead if Luzardo blows up?
Yeah, if it keeps going like this, guys, honestly, Mike, it's so hard to believe that this would continue. I find it hard to believe that he won't get it turned around, considering how good he was in his first 11 starts, and considering how good he has been in his career when he has been healthy. But for argument's sake, let's say he loses his confidence, he continues to get hit hard. Yeah, maybe they have to make a decision at that point, and that's why you have Mick Abel. That's why you have Andrew Painter coming up probably after the All-Star break. So those are all things that they're going to have to kind of think about and consider. But boy, worst case scenario, is that they have to make a hard decision on Jesus Luzardo, who literally a week ago today, Mike, you could have made the argument this guy could be starting for the National League in the All-Star game in July. I mean, he was that good. maybe he wouldn't have been, but you could make the argument that he could have been.
Yeah.
And now he's probably not even going to make the All-Star team with an ERA in the mid-fours.
I mean, he was slotted as their second best starter, really, for the first part of this year. All right, but let's get to the real problems that have been visible for a long time. And so one is the bullpen. Now, maybe I'm a cynic, but I can't see you putting Taijuan Walker in a high leverage situation where he's one of your top four guys that you go to him and get a key outs in the seventh. Maybe he is. I don't know. But it seems to me they're going to have to make some kind of a move to get a reliable upper echelon bullpen guy. Mick Abel pitched well in his second straight start. Are we hearing anything that he could be in a deal that would bring you a relief pitcher?
Well, you know what? About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have been said, that guy is a great trade chip. But man, the way he keeps pitching, you sit there and go, do they really want to give him up for a rental guy like a Ryan Helsley? Say they fall out of contention, or a Aroldis Chapman from the Red Sox, or Pete Fairbanks from the Rays. Their closer. Certainly, I think you could get something for him now. I mean, you could definitely probably get a late inning reliever. But man, you wouldn't feel great about it if he keeps pitching this way. But they're trying to win a World Series, and they have to do something. And I would be absolutely floored if they don't do something. I don't know how big it's going to be, but they do have enough trade chips in the system that they could maybe address that situation without trading somebody like Mick Abel. There's a young kid in A-ball right now. His name is Arun Escobar, who's quickly rising up the prospect ranks among talent evaluators. He's the guy that somebody told me in spring training is like, I would not be surprised if he has a great year. He's a top 100 prospect by the end of the year. But he's still an A-ball. So, he's got a long way to go. So I think they could do something without trading somebody like Abel. But on the other hand, when push comes to shove, either you address it and you fix it, or you don't. And they have to address it and they have to fix it. So they've got to kind of put their money where their mouth is and make a deal to help this bullpen. Because you're right. I mean, Taijuan Walker yesterday topped out at 93. Maybe it's because it was a blowout situation. He didn't have a lot of adrenaline going, but they got to get him in some high adrenaline situations, high leverage situations the next few weeks, because you got to know at least what you got. I mean, maybe he can be that guy, but if he's not, that kind of puts more pressure on them to find some help outside.
Yeah, I'm just not feeling it. Now, the guy you talked about in single A, are you talking about him in the context of a trade, or are you talking about him like an ascension like Kirkering made, where he could really help the team?
You're talking about Abel, you mean?
Yeah. No, the relief pitcher that you were talking about in single A ball, who's rising up the prospect.
Oh no, Escobar. I'm sorry, Escobar is he's an infielder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. He's a position player.
Oh, so he would be a guy in a trade. Okay.
Yeah, in a trade. Yeah,
All
I'm just trying to think if they have some talented guys in the lower levels that could maybe get you something where you wouldn't be giving up a guy like an Abel. I personally. A lot of people say, well, Aiden Miller, he's a shortstop, he's an infielder. They got Bohm, they got Turner. I really like Aiden Miller. I have a lot of people tell me that they love him as well, and I would be really reluctant to trade a position player talent like that to get a relief pitcher. Same thing with, Andrew Painter. They're absolutely not going to do that for. Same thing for a guy like Justin Crawford. He could be their shortstop. I'm center fielder at some point this season. So I'm not trading him for a relief pitcher either, unless you're like totally backed against the wall and you're like, well, either we don't make the playoffs or we collapse in the postseason because our bullpen is bad, or we trade Justin Crawford. So, they have a lot of really tough decisions coming up.
All right. So on that note, the world talks about, the Philly fan base talks about Trey Turner all the time. They hate him as a shortstop. They think it's like beer league softball where you can plug a guy from this position and you move Turner to second, you move Stott to short. It doesn't work like that in the major leagues. But it is plausible that maybe they would make him a center fielder, but you just talked about Justin Crawford. So where does Trey Turner stand as far as next year goes, with the Phillies evaluating what he does at shortstop compared to what he could do somewhere else?
Well, next year for sure. That, Mike, to me is the key thing. Next year. I would be absolutely stunned if at some point this season, and I've heard the same stuff, right? They got to move him out of there, move him into center field, move Stott over to second, then maybe play Edmundo Sosa at second, or move Stott from second to short, Sosa at second. I do not see that happening this year. You don't do that to a guy like Trey Turner mid-season. Just all of a sudden throw him into the outfield, throw him into left field, wherever you want to put him. But I do think in the future, maybe as early as next year, I don't know. They're going to have those conversations, but not right now. And listen, he's a league average shortstop, probably at best. He had that huge error on Sunday. It was a huge error. There's no doubt about it. That was his first error in a month. You look at the metrics, and I'm not a real big believer in the defensive metrics. I think they're kind of all over the place sometimes. But he grades as a below average defensive shortstop. So, it's fair, absolutely fair to have these conversations, but I don't think anything's going to happen this year.
All right. Yeah, I don't either. I think it's foolish, and I agree. You just think, can you imagine they go to Turner, so you're getting demoted? Right. You're talking about an MVP candidate player. You just can't do that to somebody. I hear you.
Right.
All right, Zoe, always a pleasure. Have fun watching Bailey Falter pitch tonight against Joe Ross. That's good.
Tell you what, Mike, if he pitches like he pitched in, I think it was Game 3 of the 2022 NLCS or Game 4 of the 2020. Remember, he didn't even get out of the first inning?
Yeah.
That would be good for the Phillies tonight, but he's pitched a little bit better since then.
Yeah, I'm going to time his fastball with a sand dial. Yeah, tonight. So, yeah. All right, Zoe, thanks, man. We'll talk to you up the road.
Take care, Mike. See you.
There he is. That's Todd Zolecki, who covers the Phillies for MLB.com. Bailey Falter and Joe Ross. Get your tickets early. Oh my God.
I hope you like Pittsburgh as a town.
Oh, boy. I'm putting my my pods in for that game. I'm covering that game. I'm rocking Mannequin Pussy for the first 5 innings.
Music, folks. It's a band.
610-632-0975 is how you get in. The whole world is upside down. I'll explain after this.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. Appreciate you guys checking out things with the Mike Missanelli Show. If you want more from us, check out the playlist right here to get this one. Check out all the playlists. There's a lot to watch.